Your Excellencies, members of the Ghanaian delegation, ladies and gentlemen, I'm grateful to the Minister President of the state of North Rhine-Westphalia, Herr Armin Laschet, for the invitation to visit the state of North Rhine-Westphalia and also for the opportunity to address the 5th German African Economic Forum. This forum, from relatively humble beginnings in 2010, has grown to become the go-to place for fruitful deliberations on increasing the economic dialogue between German and African organizations and companies. Our host, Herr Armin Laschet, is to be warmly congratulated, not only for seeing to the growth of this forum, but also ensuring that North Rhine-Westphalia continues to be one of Europe's most important economic centers. By all accounts, he's doing a yeoman's job and deserves commendation. Ladies and gentlemen, an important part of the relationship between Africa and Germany can be traced to the latter part of the 19th century. It was here in Germany, at the Berlin Conference in 1884 to be precise, that the representatives of the imperialist powers of Europe, led by the great European statesman of the day, the German Kaiser Wilhelm's Chancellor, Count Otto von Bismarck, and the British Queen Victoria's Tory Prime Minister, Benjamin Disraeli, met to put a formal seal on imperialist annexation and division of Africa in the Treaty of Berlin. It paved the way for imperialist exploitation and colonization of the continent until 1957. 61 years ago, when Ghana, under the dynamic leadership of our historic first president, Kwame Nkrumah, broke the chain, asserted her freedom, and set in train the process of rapid decolonization of Africa that ended with the liberation of South Africa from the racist ideology of apartheid in 1992. By the end of the 20th century, however, Germany had shed its imperialist and authoritarian past and has become for the 21st century the global symbol and beacon of freedom, democracy, and prosperity, under the guidance of the great German conservative statesman, Konrad Adenauer, founder of modern democratic Germany, Helmut Kohl, architect of Germany's reunification, and currently the redoubtable Chancellor, Frau Angela Merkel, the outstanding European leader of our time. Germany has grown into an economic powerhouse. She's the largest of all the economies in Europe and has the 4th largest economy by nominal GDP in the world. Germany's rapid development and ascension to the heights of a global economic powerhouse are an inspiration for all those of us who want to help build successful nations on the basis of free democratic values, fueled by private enterprise and individual initiative. Ladies and gentlemen, there are some who say that this will be the Asian century, but I believe strongly that this can be the African century. Africa is a rich continent, if not the richest. She has the world's 2nd fastest economic growth rates, the world's fastest growing region for foreign direct investment, and is in possession of nearly 30% of the Earth's remaining mineral resources, with a young, vibrant population. Indeed, 6 of the world's 10 fastest growing economies in 2018 are in Africa. And yet the masses of the African peoples remain poor when we have no reason to be poor. Some of the reasons are not far to seek. Research findings conducted by the group Honest Accounts for 2017 make for grim reading. According to the report, and I quote, African countries received $161.6 billion United States dollars in 2015, mainly in loans, personal remittances, and aid in the form of grants. Yet 203 billion United States dollars was taken from Africa, either directly, mainly through corporations repatriating profits, and by illegally moving money out of the continent. This report is corroborated by that of the panel, chaired by the highly respected former South African President, Thabo Mbeki, on the illicit flow of funds from Africa, which revealed that Africa is losing annually more than 50 billion United States dollars through illicit financial outflows. Africa, as you can see, is not a poor continent. What this means for us in Africa is that we need to build an Africa that is able to look after her peoples through intelligent management of the resources with which she has been endowed, embark on a new path, the path towards a new Africa. It is an Africa that must be defined by sovereignty, integrity, common belief, discipline, and shared values. It is one where we aim to be masters of our own destiny and establish an Africa beyond aid. A closer look at the economy of North Rhine-Westphalia, and by extension that of Germany, reveals an economy that is mostly based on the activities of small and medium-sized enterprises, SMEs. This state, according to the 2017 NRW investment report, has some 747,000 SMEs, which employ some 80% of the active population. The economies of Africa must emulate this. So far, we're a continent over-reliant on foreign aid, despite economic growth in parts of Africa significantly outpacing the global average. We cannot bring progress, prosperity, and development, and also create jobs for the teeming masses of African youths with a mindset of dependence, charity, and handouts. Africa must build value-added industrialized economies with modernized agriculture, which takes full advantage of the digital revolution. Our first priority must be to change the structures of the economies on the continent, which are dependent largely on the production and export of raw materials. It is this reliance on raw material exports that feeds our dependence on foreign aid and subjects us to the politics of the West. It therefore should not come as a surprise that many African youths who do not see a future in their respective countries are willing to cross the Sahara on foot and drown in the Mediterranean Sea in a desperate bid to reach the mirage of a better life in Europe. Africa needs to transform stagnant, jobless economies built on the export of raw materials and unrefined goods to value-added economies that provide jobs, to build strong middle-class societies and lift the masses of our people out of dire poverty. We can only do so if we participate in the global marketplace on the basis not of the exports of raw materials, but on the basis of things we make. Germany being a major exporter of industrial products and technology, Africa's relations with Germany must be hinged on this. Furthermore, we are aware that much of the success of post-Second World War German reconstruction was provided by migrant labor, largely Turkish. We expect that the nature of the current and future relationship between Germany and Africa would entail that African migrants who come to Germany to work would be treated humanely, even when they regretfully infringe Germany's laws. Our second priority should be to increase trade and investment cooperation and not aid. This is one of the ways we can develop healthy economic relations between Africa and Germany, and indeed with the rest of the world, and thereby help put African products at the high end of the value chain in the global marketplace and create jobs for the teeming masses of Africans, particularly the youth. German trade with Africa is estimated to be worth 60 billion United States dollars a year, in sharp contrast to that of China, which stands at 200 billion United States dollars. With Africa's population set to reach some 2 billion in 20 years' time, there are immense opportunities to bring prosperity to Africa and to Germany too, with hard work, enterprise, and creativity. I urge German organizations and companies present to take advantage of this and enhance their trade relations with Africa. The time to deepen German-African trade and investment is now. We must generate investments in agro-industry, the energy and power sectors, and infrastructural development of Africa, capable of producing positive outcomes for the private sectors, especially small and medium-scale enterprises of Germany and Africa. Thirdly, we must cooperate in ensuring the promotion of transparent and inclusive policy and decision-making processes at local, national, regional, continental, and global levels. This would include recognizing as key stakeholders the state to help provide direction and facilitation, the private sector to drive the creation and management of markets, industry, and decent jobs, and civil society to help demand accountability within the body politic. Fourthly, in order for us to build an Africa that meets the aspirations of the African peoples and opens up opportunities for all, especially its youth, we must also prioritize our budgetary arrangements to ensure that funds are available to strengthen key institutions of state, such as the legislature, judiciary, and fiscal institutions. It is important that we promote and develop a culture of accountable governance, free of corruption, whereby these institutions of state see themselves as independent public entities, serving the wider public interest, not the temporary conveniences of governments of the day. We have a responsibility to make our countries attractive to our young people. They should feel they have a worthwhile future if they stay and help build their nations. To this end, ladies and gentlemen, a new paradigm of leadership is called for on the continent. Leaders who are committed to governing their peoples according to the rule of law, respect for individual liberties and human rights, and the principles of democratic accountability. Leaders who are looking past commodities to position their countries in the global marketplace. Leaders who are determined to free their peoples from a mindset of dependence, aid, charity, and handouts. Leaders who are bent on mobilizing Africa's own immeasurable resources to resolve Africa's problems. Leaders who recognize the connectedness of their peoples and economies to those of their neighbors. This new generation of African leaders should help bring dignity and prosperity to our continent and her long-suffering peoples. We want to renew and deepen our relations with Germany to our mutual advantage. We do want to, and we shall work to take Africa where she deserves to be, as a prosperous and dynamic member of the world community, which is neither victim nor pawn of the world order. We need to, and we shall move Africa beyond aid. Thank you very much for your kind attention, and I wish you successful and fruitful celebration.